everyone, and welcome to another Kabbalah lesson. This is our third semester, and today we're going to be reading an article called "One Should Always Sell the Beams of His House" by Rabash. It's also in the book Social Writings. You can get all kinds of books, authentic Kabbalah books, from kabbalahbooks.info if you're interested, and they actually ship it worldwide. So if you're interested, you can also get a lot of books from there to read and to study from, and to also follow the lessons. Now today, before we start, we have a few questions that came in from the previous lesson. So according to what I want to do is answer those questions first, and once we answer them, what we can do is move forward with the article. You can also find the article on our website, www.kabbalah.info. All right, so from there you can also look at the articles and check it out there. Just search for it. One should always sell the beams of his house. Okay. Now this third semester, as you know, we're studying how to practically study within a group. Okay, so how can a group of people who want to come to the purpose of life to feel, perceive, and flow with the Creator and His actions in a compatible, in a smooth, adapted way. This is the purpose of life, to actually attain the Creator and His thoughts while living in this life. So religions would like to have us believe that something will happen after we die. However, after a person dies, nothing happens. Okay, so this is what religions say, and this is why a lot of people do what religions tell them to do, simply because they don't know what will happen after they die. But the purpose of life, which is to attain godliness, the attributes of God, that is. Okay, godliness means how to be like God. Just like we have children and we raise them so they can live in society, in our world, in a comfortable way, in a regular way, the Creator, or God, Allah, Elohim, doesn't matter what you call them. There's just one force in reality. And the Creator also wants to raise us like children so that we learn how to live in His reality. And just like we send children to school, the same thing applies here. So life and attaining spirituality are like very, very similar, because this world is actually a copy, a replica of the roots. So everything in spirituality is kind of reflected into this world. So this is this last semester that we're doing is all about how to study within the group. Before we get there, like I said, let's have a few minutes put aside for these questions, because they came in from the previous lessons, and the guys just sent them through now. So P. Green has a question. I don't have a question now, but in the future, may I ask questions that aren't on the topic you're currently discussing? Yes, you can. You can send all kind of questions from previous lessons as well, if you like, as long as they're related to Kabbalah, because I'm teaching Kabbalah according to the method of Baal HaSulam and Rabash. So that's what I teach. So in other areas, they're not my expertise, and I don't really go into other areas. But related to the wisdom of Kabbalah and how we study it and our sources, you can certainly ask any question you like. Thomas Delgela is asking, so it doesn't matter if you're a thief, murderer, you can reach spirituality. Will you still be a thief after reaching spirituality? That's a nice question. Well, what is spirituality? Okay, so we have to first make sure we get our definition right, because a lot of people say I'm spiritual, or a lot of people say I study spirituality, and from their perspective, they're right. There's nothing wrong with it. From their point of view, they're absolutely right. But let's get back to the first semester, where we defined what spirituality, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, is. Okay, so spirituality, according to wisdom of Kabbalah, is to attain the attributes of the Creator, so we can actually behave and exist like He exists in His reality, in that higher level of reality. So that's what spirituality is, to actually exist like the Creator exists. In order to do that, one needs to attain the attributes of the Creator. Just like our children, when they're growing up, they have to attain attributes that will allow them to survive in our 21st century global conditions. Okay, kids need education, they need to be made aware of things in life. So as they grow up, they adapt to life, and they know as a grown-up, when they grow up, how to live properly. Okay, well, generally, let's say, okay? That's the whole idea of raising children and educating them, so they actually have a good, pleasant life when they grow up. Now, how successful we are as humanity, that's another question. But the idea behind it is that. Same here. The Creator, or that one force behind reality, wants to raise us so we can exist in His reality. In order to exist in His reality, we have to start acting like an adult according to spirituality. Just like we have to act like an adult according to corporeal reality, in the Creator's realm, we have to learn how to act like an adult in His realm. In order for us to do that, we have to attain His attributes. Now, Kabbalists explain that His attributes are love, okay, and the action of having an attribute of love is called bestow. So if I love someone, I do good things to that person. I buy them maybe presents. I like spending time with them. I want to make sure that good things happen to them. So that's what it means to kind of ascend and exit my self-love, and to kind of delve into somebody on the outside with a new attribute of love, which is detached from myself. Being in ourself and self-interest is known as egoism, which we studied before, as you know. And what we want to do, if we want to feel what's outside of us, which is what the Creator is, we have to get out of our egoism. And the way to get out of your egoism is to get out of self-love and to love somebody else. And that's the whole trick. So, if I want to move in that direction, I have to ask myself, well, can I love you and kill you? Or can I love you and steal from you? Okay, obviously I can't, right? That's why the first rule of spirituality, just like in teachings, in many teachings, the first things they teach you is, listen, don't do bad things to others. Don't do to others what you don't like done to yourself. That's a primary rule. Simply because before you do any action, you're putting the brakes on and you're making a calculation. If somebody did that to me, would I like it? And that's already a good kind of, brakes. Because a lot of people on the outside behave instinctively. They just behave like an animal. Just like animals behave, people also behave. People go to sleep, they wake up, they have breakfast or they eat something and they go to work. They're like a robot, like a machine, right? Like a machine from flesh and meat. This is how the majority of society lives. So already taking somebody else outside of myself into consideration allows me to start looking at things from two dimensions. There is how I by nature behave, and how I would prefer to behave if I wanted to advance in spirituality. So I have now the chance to observe myself seemingly from the outside. So if a person is killing and robbing and stealing, he's obviously breaking that rule completely. So there's no way he's going to get spiritual, because you can't get spiritual in your self-love. Because every time I steal, it's because I love myself and I don't like you. And I'm causing you harm because I like myself more. I love myself more. So this won't really work out, will it? So in order for a person to advance in spirituality, to come to equivalence of form, as we learned in the previous semesters, we have to start changing our nature. Now, in reality, if you look at it from a Kabbalistic point of view, everybody's a thief. Because what does it mean to be a thief? In spirituality, a thief doesn't mean I took something from you. Thief means I had an opportunity to do something good to you and I didn't do it. Forget taking something from you. Okay, that's already stealing for sure. But in spirituality, it's much more than that. Not only do I not take anything from you, I had an opportunity to do you something good and I didn't. That's also stealing. So if you look at our egoistic nature, the whole world is full of thieves. So don't worry about it. What we should be worried about is, now that I know and I'm studying my nature and I understand how bad it is, and I know how this bad attitude that I have is distancing me from the Creator and the purpose of life, now I can start to make steps forward. I can start to take steps forward and make calculations so that I can actually begin to change myself. And that's where the study comes in. So, so if yesterday you were a thief and so on, okay, forget it, it's done and gone. But as at now, if you decide to study and if you want to move forward, obviously you can't move forward like that, okay? Another friend is asking, I think he's got an alias name, Cornbread Jr. How does being a thief, benefit the other person without exposing and hurting another? So, no, I doubt you'd still be a thief. Well, in spirituality, you can't be. If you attain spirituality, you can't be. Because what happens when you attain spirituality is you changed your nature. So it's like you just can't do something anymore like that. That's the whole idea. Otherwise, if I kept going back and forth between stealing and not stealing, that's not spirituality. Spirituality, you attain it, you have a certain degree to it, then you can add further degrees and grow in those, but you don't go back and go back into doing bad things. All right, so it's very important to understand that as we advance in spirituality, you reveal how bad you are, that's for sure, but as you attain spirituality, you don't go back to doing bad things. Another question from the same person. Spirituality is about love and bestowal. Spirituality is about discovering the Creator and connecting with Him and creating a bond, a relationship with the Creator. That's what spirituality is. Love and bestowal comes into the game because in reality, if you want to perceive anything, you have to have equivalence of form in your sensory organs or your traits, let's call them. And love and bestowal are the traits of the Creator. And I don't have those traits. In our egoistic nature, humanity doesn't. That's why we don't feel the Creator. So love and bestowal is a condition that I have to attain in order to perceive something new. It's a way I develop a sensory organ. Because right now in humanity, because we're egoists, we're stuck in our little box. Really, we're just stuck in this black box. And all we do is live in our small little box. That's our life. So what a person needs to really do is to exit that box. And the way to exit that box is to change your nature. And humanity doesn't like to change its nature. They like to change the world. Okay? You go to people on the outside and ask them on the street, right? Regular people. They'll tell you, oh, I would have done this instead of God. I would have created life like this. They would have done things according to their own minds. Why? Because they don't understand reality. So everybody, according to how they would feel good, would have made a better world. However, though, the purpose of life is not actually to live like a comfortable animal in this world and then die off. The purpose of life is to attain the Creator, to exist in His reality. This reality is actually the lowest realm in reality. So what we want to attain is a higher level. So we need to make that change in nature. So that the attainment of love and bestowal is actually allowing the person to perceive a new reality, because we're looking at life completely detached from ourselves. That's a whole new point of observation, and that's what we need to get to. So spirituality is in action love and bestowal, but you could say it's love and bestowal, but also we need to understand that these traits are a necessity to come to the purpose of life, which is to attain the Creator, to connect with Him, to bond with Him, to have a relationship with Him. Another question from P. Green. I heard stealing meant one is stealing the light for oneself. Well, in spirituality, you can't steal anything for yourself. Okay, you just can't. However, what happens is, However, what happens is you reveal your bad attributes. Because at the end of the day, if you're at a spiritual level, what you reveal is at that level your evil traits. Okay, your egoism basically. And what you have to now do is to correct that. That's what going up the ladder of spirituality means. I reveal an evil inside of me, and now I correct it and I go to the next level. Now, stealing the light for yourself in spirituality therefore cannot happen, because what will happen then, it'll cause a breaking. And the breaking already happened, as we discussed in the second semester technical lessons. So humanity is already in a broken, completely, wrecked situation, and from this wrecked, miserable situation, this depressed, not knowing what to do from their life, from not knowing what to do with their lives, or from within life, don't understanding how to live, what to do to be happy, we're completely shattered. Now we have to build a new reality. So stealing the light for oneself could only cause breaking, and that's what Adam did actually in the world of Atzilut, and this is why his soul broke and the general soul broke, and that's what parts we are of actually. We're all parts of the part of Adam that broke. So, and in our situation, we were not even capable of doing that at the moment, so we can't really do that. Also, I heard you shall not kill means one shall not kill the light. You can't kill the light because the light, maybe I don't know where you read that, or in which lesson. We have to look at the overall concept of it. Not killing means this. When we're talking about spirituality, we're always talking about our changes, the changes that we are going through. Okay? And every time we go through a change, what happens is a new layer of egoism opens up to me. It's revealed to me. And now I have to get over that egoism and cover it with the attribute of bestowal, so I can actually use all the attributes that I have in me that I'm currently using egoistically. I can now turn them and use them in a bestowing way. That's what a correction is. So during that process, there is a process where they call sometimes killing the desire. But killing the desire isn't really killing anything or anyone. Killing a desire means that I'm not using it anymore. It's like putting a restriction on, as we learned in the previous semesters. So I restrict the desire, I don't use it, and whatever is not used in spirituality, it's dead, because it's not functioning, it's not being used. And that's what dead is. You can't really kill the light, because the light is the influence of the Creator upon us. It's the Creator's actions on us. All those actions on us that give us certain sensations, that awaken in us feelings, thoughts, understandings, everything that actually awakens things inside of us are because of the influence of the light. So you cannot kill that. All right. So there's probably we talked about restricting the desire, and restricting a desire is sometimes known as killing it because it's not used anymore. However, though, afterwards, what will happen? The raising of the dead. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back to those desires and start using them in order to bestow once we correct ourselves. Okay, so today we've got a nice interactive lesson. Let's get into the article straight away. Now, like I said in the introduction to the lesson, this third semester is dedicated to how a group of people need to interact with each other so that they can study the wisdom of Kabbalah in order to change their egoistic nature and become more bestowing and moving closer and closer to the purpose of life. So in this book, Rabash Social Writings, if you go to page 28, one should always sell the beams of his house. We're going to read that. Okay, and we can make some notes as we go along. So what I will do actually is I'll move this here because I'm right-handed. We'll keep this here and I'll make notes as we go along. So we'll just, make a little summary of what the article is really talking about. One should always sell the beams of his house. Rabbi Yehuda said, Rav said, one should always sell the beams of his house and put his shoes on his feet. We should understand the precision about the beams of one's house and the great importance of shoes, so the point that it is worth selling the beams of his house for it, meaning to have the ability to put shoes on his feet. We should interpret in the work. So we're going to right now look at what it means for one should always sell the beams of his house and put shoes on his feet. So what does that mean in spiritual work? So it's obviously talking about the relationships between us, how we need to organize them. And he's making an entry to the article, to the concept, because he's telling it like he wants to give an introduction to it. He wants to let us know where this comes from, what the whole point is, and he's going to give us a good explanation on it. We should interpret in the work the korot, which is beams, of his house, comes from the word mikre, incident, meaning everything that a person experiences in his home. We perceive man by two discernments, by knowledge, meaning with the intellect, and by emotion, meaning what we feel in our hearts, whether we're happy or unhappy. So in other words, beams, let's write this down so we get everything crystal clear. So beams, let me do this in black, it'll be better for us. Okay, so beams in our house comes from the word korot, okay, which means incidents. So the things that I go through in life, and it's saying incidents could be in the mind and in the heart. Heart. Okay, so these incidents that we experience evoke questions in our everyday lives. This applies between a person and his creator, and between a person and his friend. Between a person and the creator means that he has complaints that the creator is not satisfying all his needs. In other words, the creator should fulfill what the person thinks he needs, because the rule is that the conduct of the good is to do good. And sometimes he complains as though he feels the opposite, that this situation is always worse than that of others who are at a higher degree than he is. So there are two things here, right? So there's the person, and he has a relationship, seemingly relationship, because if he hasn't revealed the creator yet, he's got no relationship with the creator. But we do like to scream inside our own heads to the creator, don't we? So that's what he's talking about. So then I've got events that happen inside of me with respect to the creator and with respect to the friends, right? So towards the creator, he's saying we've got complaints because we're not satisfied with life. And every time a person isn't satisfied in life, he's actually, or she is, complaining to the creator. It follows that he's in a state called spies, who slander providence because he doesn't feel that the light and pleasure in his life, and it is hard for him to say, only goodness and grace will follow me all the days of my life. Thus at that time, he's in a state of spies. So he's complaining about the creator, and he's not happy with the creator's acts. So that is called spies. So a person, spies, is complaining about creator's attitude to me. Attitude to me. That's called spies. Okay? Nice and easy. Our sages said about that, one must bless for the bad as he blesses for the good, since the basis of spirituality is built on faith above reason. This means not relying on what the intellect compels one to think, say, and do, but on faith in a benevolent higher providence. And precisely by justifying providence, one is later rewarded with feeling delight and pleasure. Baal Salam gave an allegory about a person who had complaints and demands of the Creator, that he wasn't granting all his wishes. It's like a person who is walking on the street with a little child, and the child is crying bitterly. All the people on the street are looking at the father and thinking, how cruel is this man who can hear his son crying without paying any attention? The child's cries make even people on the street feel sorry for the child, but this man, who is his father, doesn't. And there's a rule, as a father has compassion on his children. The child's cries made people go to his father and ask, where's your mercy? Then his father replied, what can I do if my son, whom I keep like the apple of my eye, demands of me to give him a pin so he can scratch his eye because he has an itch in his eyes? Can I be called cruel for not granting his wish? Or is it for mercy? Is it for mercy that I will not give it to him, so he will not poke his eye and remain blind forever? Therefore, we must believe that everything that the Creator gives us is for our own good, although we must pray just in case that the Creator will lift these troubles from us. However, we must know what the prayer and the granting of the prayer are two separate things. In other words, if we do what we must, then the Creator will do what is good for us. As with the above allegory, it is said about that, and the Lord will do that which seems good to him. So as people, we're complaining about life, but we're like little kids running around and screaming for all kinds of things. But the Creator, just like an adult who knows what's best for us, like our mums and dads or grandparents, he understands that, listen, if I give you these things, you're just going to hurt yourself. So at the same time, when we have a bad day or we're going through a hardship, and we should turn to the Creator and ask for help, in any case, Why? Because turning to the Creator actually starts to build this attitude that there is me, and everything that happens in my life is coming to me from the Creator. So if I start to look at life as me, the events of life on me, and the cause behind all those events as the Creator, I start to build this line of communication. I stop looking at other people and blaming them for things that are happening in the world, or I stop looking at other people that seemingly are causing bad things to me, and I start to relate to what's happening behind the curtain. So this is why it's important to turn to the Creator, even though when we're having a hard time or we're not feeling good about ourselves, something's not right with our life, it's still good to turn to Him for help. But if we're not getting what we want, it's simply because we don't understand what we want, and we don't understand that it's going to be harmful for us, and so the Creator is not giving it to us. The same principle applies to a person and his friend, meaning that he should sell the beams of his house and put shoes on his feet. In other words, a person should sell the beams of his house, meaning all the incidents that his house experienced in regards to love of friends. Okay? So friends with the friends, everything, all events with friends in the group. Okay, we're not talking about friends on the outside. All events with friends regarding the love of friends. This is what we're talking about. Why are we talking about the love of friends? Well, simply because loving somebody else allows me to get out of my skin. It allows me to perceive reality from the outside of my current sensory organs, because I can step out of myself. So everything that's targeted towards the goal is called an incident, all the events. One may have questions and complaints about his friend, since he is working devotedly in love of friends, yet he sees no response on the part of the friends that would help him in any way. They are all behaving not according to his understanding of love of friends, what love of friends should be, meaning that each one will speak to his friend in a respectable manner, as it is among distinguished individuals. Also regarding actions, he sees no action on the part of the friends that he can look at in relation to love of friends. Instead, everything is normal, as it is among ordinary people who still did not have an interest in coming together and deciding to build a society where there is love of friends, where each cares for the well-being of the other. Thus now he sees that there is no one to look at who engages in love of friends. And since he feels that he's the only one who's talking on the right path, who's walking on the right path, and he's looking at everyone with contempt and scorn, this is called spies. So if I'm looking at my friends and I'm thinking they're not doing this right, I'm really trying to love them, I'm really trying to treat them nice, be good to them, but I'm looking at them and they're not doing what I'm doing. They're not behaving like how friends should behave. So this judgmental attitude towards others, this negative approach that I have towards others, is called I'm spying on them. So I'm complaining about them, just like I'm complaining about the Creator. Now I have spies, complaints about my friends. I'm thinking to myself, these guys aren't doing this work right. Complaints about friends. Okay? So when I'm in that situation, I'm in the state of spies. It's towards the Creator the same way, towards the friends it's also the same way. That is, he's spying on his friends to see if they are behaving properly towards him in regards to love thy friend. And since he constantly hears that the friends are preaching all day long that love of others is the most important, he wants to see if what they say is what they do. And then he sees that it is all lip service. He finds that even in speaking, there is no love of others. And this is the smallest thing in love of others. In other words, if he asks someone a question, he answers him offhandedly, indifferently, not in the way one answers a friend. Rather, it is all cold, as though he wants to get rid of him. And don't ask me if you're thinking about love of others. Why are you criticizing if your friend loves you, as though love of friends is established on the basis of self-love? And this is why I want to see what my self-love gained from this engagement. These are not my thoughts, rather I truly want to love others. This is why I was interested in establishing the society, so I would see that each and every one is engaging in love of others, so that through it, the little bit of force that I have in love of others would increase, and I would have the strength to engage in love of others more powerfully than I could by myself. But now I see that I have gained nothing, because I see that not even one is doing good. Thus it would be better if I weren't with them and hadn't learned from their actions. So a person starts to now kind of regret starting the study with them, because he's beginning to see them negatively. He's beginning to feel like, these aren't the right guys, they're not behaving properly. I came here to come to the love of friends, and these guys aren't even doing it properly. So I'm beginning to find complaining, and I'm now beginning to turn it into a regret. What am I doing with these people? Seriously. So these kind of things, the reason he's writing these things is because they will pop up in you. Simply because as we advance in spirituality, our egoism will increase, and I will begin to see others negatively. And this is what this article is telling us. As we advance more and more, I'll begin to have complaints about the friends. I'll begin to see them as not worthy for the path. I'll begin to see them as not worthwhile being with them. I'll begin to see them like they're incorrect, they're doing everything wrong, and I'm right, and so on. All these inner discernments that I'm going to be going through on the path to spirituality are called incidents, the beams of my house. Everything that's happening between me and the Creator, me and the friends, all these incidents, on the one hand, appear to be negative, but on the other hand, they're very important, because from these incidents, I get these discernments where I can now begin to work with myself. I can now begin to make calculation. Well, they're not acting in the love of friends according to what I see. Okay, it's always according to what I see. Maybe they're doing the right thing, but I'm seeing incorrectly. But despite the fact that I'm seeing wrong, what can I do to love them? Okay, so that's where a person should start to delve in once he starts to see negative things in a friend. But as we advance in spirituality more and more, there's going to be more and more complaints about the friends. To that, there is the reply that if a society is established with certain people, and when they gathered, there must have been someone who wished to establish specifically this bunch. Thus he sorted out these people to see that they are suitable for each other. In other words, each of them had a spark of love of others, but the spark could not ignite the light of love to shine in each. So they agreed that by uniting the sparks would become a big flame. So when a person comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah, he comes with what we call a spark in the heart, sometimes known as a dot in the heart. Okay, sometimes we draw it like this, a dot in the heart. And this is the spark that it's talking about. So when a person, spark. So when a person comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah, he's only got a dot in the heart, which is just an urge, actually. It's not spirituality. It's not even a desire for spirituality. It's just an urge. It's just this inner search of a person seeking for the meaning of life. Why am I living? What am I here for? What's this whole world all about? And why am I stuck in it? I'm going to die. I was born without a choice. I'm living without a choice, and I'm going to die, end up dead without a choice. God knows when. What's this all for? So a person comes with a small urge, but when a group comes together, then what you have is a group of people with a bunch of dots in the heart, and this is enough to give each other strength. So the more people we have in a group, we study together with our dots in the heart. If a person is not seeking the meaning of life, there's nothing really to talk about. There's nothing really to teach that person about the wisdom of Kabbalah. He wouldn't come anyway, and even if he did come, he wouldn't stay. This wisdom is only for a person who has a very, sharp impression about life and a sharp question about it. What am I doing here? What's the meaning of my life? And I want to seek the answer to that only. Only a person like that comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah. And when he does come, his urge is not enough. So with the group of people, he can get strength, encouragement, motivation to move forward. When he does move forward, he gets these motivations and he's studying with us. Then what will happen is incidents. What he calls here beams. Okay, beams of our house. Beams of our house. So the beams of the house are actually all these sensations and feelings that we're going through with the interaction with others. This is why he's saying, well, he's beginning to see negative things in his friends, because we're all getting connected, we're all bonding, we're all trying to, attain spirituality, and by trying to attain it, we're trying to change ourselves. And we need each other to do that. We begin to start complaining. Okay, so all these complaints come to a person, and that's called beams, incidents that we're going through. Okay, there we go. And so on. Hence now too, he is spying on them. He should overcome and say all of them were of one mind, that they must walk on the path of love of others. When the society was established, so it is now. So when we all got together, we got together for a goal. Okay, our goal is Attain the Creator. Attain the Creator. Okay, you know what that is. His attributes. Okay, i.e. his attributes. That's the goal. We want to get to the purpose of life. We want to grow up, basically. Okay? So when we all got together, that was the goal. So if I see bad things in a friend, if I see him acting badly, behaving badly, I have to say, well, wait a minute. We all got together for the same goal. And we're all sticking together now for the same goal. So it's like I have to kind of start overlooking some of those negative things. I have to stop complaining and start working. Otherwise, you'll be complaining like everybody else on the street. A lot of people, well, look, the whole of humanity is complaining about each other. All of them. They're always complaining that somebody else did something, or somebody else is doing something to them, or to influence them, or doing something bad that's affecting and impacting them. That's how the whole world works. Here in spirituality, we're focusing on personal change. So despite the fact that I might see something bad in a friend, I have to get over it. I feel like grow up. Okay? That's the whole idea. And when everyone judges his friends favorably, so that's the whole idea. Okay? Everybody judges the friend favorably. All the sparks will ignite once more, and again there will be one big flame. So if I see something bad in a friend, I have to judge the friend favorably. I have to see his good sides. I have to see his positive sides. I have to look at the good side of the friend, not the bad side. Our ego loves to see bad in people. Okay, we love it. Okay, when we see something bad in others, oh, look at that, look at him, look at her. Okay, because it's, it's good for the ego, because it makes us feel good. But in spirituality, if we want to advance, we have to look at the good side of the friends. We have to value the friend because he or she has a dot in the heart and they want to advance together. Sure, we're going to have good days and bad days. In life, we do as well. But we stand up and we move forward. And this is how the group dynamic must always be. So I always have to look at the good side of the friends, value them simply because they're with me on the path for the same goal. Let's see. It is as Bala Salam once said when he asked about the covenant that two friends make, as we find in the Torah. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them unto Avimelech. And they too made a covenant. He asked, if the two of them love each other, of course they do good to each other. And naturally, when there's no love between them, because the love has waned for some reason, they do not do good to one another. So how does making a covenant between them help? He answered that the covenant that they do is not for now, since now when the love is felt between them, there is no need to make a covenant. Rather, the making of the covenant is done purposely for the future. In other words, it is possible that after some time they will not feel the love as they do now, but they will still keep their relationship as before. This is what the making of the covenant is for. We can also see that although now they do not feel the love as it was when the society was established, everyone must still overcome his view and go above reason. By that, everything will be corrected and each will judge his friend favorably. So it's like getting married, right? So when you get married, everybody loves each other. So the couple loves each other, that is. All right, so you both love each other, you get married and you have a marriage certificate, you sign your name on it, okay? And in the future, sometimes people get separated and divorced and so forth, things like this happen. But why are we making this agreement initially in the first place? Because we want it to be binding. We understand we're going to have ups and downs. So we don't want to run away with every down day we have. So we want to make sure that we stick together, we work it out, and we move forward even more and more. So the whole idea of being a family or being a couple and getting married is we understand in the beginning, now we love each other, but we understand from life that we can have bad days in the future. And if we do, we should remember the day that we made this agreement between us and we signed this wedding certificate. Because this day we loved each other, and we should remember how we loved each other when we were having a bad day. So the group is also in that kind of state. When we all come together, we're excited, we want to attain this goal, we want to work together, and we want to move forward with each other, and that's great. But when we have bad days, arguments, we see negative things at each other and so on, what we have to do is we have to go above reason and say, hey, this is like family. You can't just walk away, you can't just throw them aside and so on. So doing that is going above reason. Now, because we're a group of people who came to study together, it's difficult for us to see each other as close as family because we're not, right? We're new to each other, we've just met and so forth. But the concept should be there because we want to come to a state where brotherly love or friendly love or, real love between people, people who care about each other. We want to get to that. And in order for us to get to that, we have to start changing the way we behave or the way we look at things, let's say. Okay, we have to change our approach from our day-to-day lives. When we're studying in the group, we have to change our view into a different way. We have to say, well, the friend might be incorrect. He might have a flaw, but hey, nobody's perfect. And if I want to get to the purpose of life, if I want to exit my self-love and love somebody else, what difference does it make? Okay, the important thing is to work on it and to advance and to try to see the friends in their good ways, in their favorable ways, so that what I can do is actually develop this relationship, develop this loving relationship towards them, so that it can actually start helping me to get out of myself. Now we can understand the words of our sages, who said one should always sell the beams of his house and put shoes on his feet. Mina'alim, shoes, comes from the word neilat delet, locking the door, meaning closing. Once a person has spied on his friend, and rigel, spied, comes from the word reglaim, legs or feet, he should sell the beams of his house, meaning all that has happened to his house in the connection between him and his friend, meaning the spies that he has who slander the friends. Then sell everything means remove all the incidents that the spies have brought to him and put shoes on his feet instead. The meaning is that he should lock away the spies as though they no longer exist in the land. And he will shut away all the questions and demands that he has about them. And then everything will come to its place in peace. Okay, so just like sometimes in a family we do the same as well, don't we? Sometimes our brother or sister or our spouse might do something to upset us, but what we do is we cover it with love. And same is the incident here. If there's something that negative, something negative happened to inside of me, negative feelings towards somebody, I have to work on that. I have to work on it, and I have to try to cover it with love. I have to try to see it from a different perspective. If I don't, I can't go through any inner change. If I keep having the same attitude as my normal corporeal life towards others, an inner change in you will not happen. So understanding these principles are very, very important. So even though I might have these incidents with friends, it's very important to put those incidents aside and still value the friends. This is a completely new attitude towards what you would see in corporeal reality. Because in corporeal reality, what do? If we have a bad friend, we just get rid of them. We just say, you know what? Don't talk to me anymore. Get out of here. That's it. We cut them off from our lives, and that's it. And you can cut out everyone from your life. And you see that humanity in the 21st century is going more and more and more towards loneliness. It's a big epidemic. Loneliness is actually a big cause in all the sicknesses that we have in the world, because humanity actually was not created to be alone. It was created to be this dynamic, interactive part in reality that's constantly in interaction with others and complementing and completing everybody else, so that there's this flowing harmony in nature and humanity fits right into it. However, because of our egoistic nature, we're completely detached from the general laws of nature, and accordingly we are disconnecting more and more from everybody else, because our ego is constantly growing. And in fact, it's now mutating. It's like a fruit going bad, that's how it is. And now what we have to do, if we're going to study spirituality and advance in changing ourselves, changing our perspective, perception, we have to start looking at things from a different angle. And the only way I can start looking at things from a different angle is to change my approach, change my current approach in relating to others. And this is what we're learning in the social writings. So I hope this article makes sense. Sometimes the articles, are not very straightforward, because they, start with a story and allegory, and it, sometimes we get lost in there. So this is why I wanted to take notes and just make a few things known and obvious to us. The reason is, when a Kabbalist writes something, what they want to do is they want to make sure they take it from the sources, okay? Because Kabbalists are a chain of Kabbalists dating all the way to Adam, like nearly 6,000 years ago. So the whole idea is to make sure that this lineage, this path, has an accumulated storyline. And from those storylines, we're taking certain things and making sure we understand them. And that understanding should then bring us to applying it inside the society. So through the application and the knowledge and the doing and the experiences and all the incidents, as it says here, I begin to discern myself. I begin to understand who I am, what triggers me, what all these inner emotions are a part of. What am I all, everything that I go through inside my feelings, thoughts, sensations now become essential parts, like beams, for me to construct my house, to construct my vessel. So all of these things are very, very important. As we study, we need to get our heads around it. And hopefully, as we study, it'll sink in. You shouldn't worry that you don't understand anything or something is confusing and it's not clear, because just like it takes many years for us to understand any topic, it takes years for kids to grow and so on. This will also take years for us to get our heads around. But in the right kind of society, with the right guidance and the right guide and the teacher, it's very, very logical. It's very it's really like growing up in this world. You begin to grow up in spirituality. So I hope you enjoyed that article. We'll have another article again next week. If you have any questions, also please send them through, just like you did last time. And I think this is... That's right, okay. So what we have to do is just carry on with the lessons. As we do, if you want the book, okay, you can get this book on KabbalahBooks.info. Let me give you a few websites, as always. So you can download the things on materials you can download on Kabbalah.info, or if you like, on KabbalahMedia.info. This is a very, very rich site, KabbalahMedia.info. Okay, so you can download all kinds of materials. If you would like to buy books, then go to www.KabbalahBooks.info. And you can order them. They ship them globally as well. And you can, buy whatever you like. If you have any questions, you can also drop us an email to Asia or Africa at Kabbalah.academy, and we'll be happy to answer them as we go along. Academy. Okay, same here. There we go. All right. In the meantime, though, I hope you have a good week until next week, and have a great day, have a great evening, depending on where you are. All the best.